Welcome to episode 2 of the Podcaster's Guide to the Galaxy. We'll do the job you didn't know needed to be done. Think of us as that thing in your life you didn't know you needed, like a toilet target light, an alarm clock that gives off a coffee smell when it goes off, or the inevitable digital rectal exam. Welcome to episode 2, and here we go.
Okay. Are we all pretending we're radio DJs now?
Yeah.
My name's Tom Butterworth, and welcome to the podcast this week. And I'm going to be talking about my favourite spaceship, just like all the other guys. We've all been told to pick a top 3, but there can be only one Highlander spaceship. So we're all going to talk about our favourite. So that's one thing. What else are we doing?
Good question. Next.
We will also be hearing from Daisy about who he hates and who is basically going to be blasted from existence by the Death Star Superlaser.
Pew, pew.
Welcome to Daisy's Death Star Wheel of Fun, Inevitability Death.
Okay.
That one.
Death Star Wheel of Fun.
/death.
We sure are. Okay, so we set ourselves a challenge to talk about our favourite spaceships. We all had to pick one spaceship that we decided was the finest in all of sci-fi-dom and explain why it is our personal favourite. I am happy to start. Why don't we tell everybody what our choices are first, shall we?
Okay.
So I am proud to announce that, as is pictured on my mug, my special mug, signed by Michael Dawn that I'm sporting today. Obviously, this is an audio medium, so this is pointless, but nonetheless, for the listeners at home, I'm showing everybody else my Star Trek mug, which has a picture of the NCC 1701D Enterprise D, which is my favourite spaceship.
Nerd.
I'll be discussing why it's the best.
My choice, because you mother frickers didn't like me having the Death Star as a vehicle, even though technically it meets all the definitions of said vehicle. I'm going for the Star Wars TIE Fighter.
Okay, bold
I like
choice.
that. I have actually chosen the winner, so I've chosen the Rocinante from The Expanse.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, and I've gone for the SSV Normandy, which is the ship in
nice.
the first Mass Effect game.
Oh,
And the second Mass Effect game.
Technically, that's a rebuild, but yeah.
Oh my, such nerdery.
Rich, I thought you'd gone for the one from Ulysses 31.
No, I dropped that into second place. So that's my second place ship, and for the third one, which I'll mention briefly, is actually a half-real thing called Project Orion. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that.
No. Do tell.
Oh, I'm starting, am I?
Yeah, you may as
Tell
well.
us about the Orion.
Okay, so number 3. So I think they had to be fictional spaceships. Well, actually, for number 3, I picked a spaceship that was explored right down to the blueprint stage from about 1957 to 1964, and it was called Project Orion. And they were literally thinking about using atomic bombs to propel spaceships through space. So that was that. You can look it up. I think it features in one of the Carl Sagan Cosmos episodes, but you can look up the plans and everything. There's proper blueprints, and they're basically going to detonate these bombs behind this kind of huge dampening plate and then fire this ship through space.
Is that the one that was that being developed by the US military rather than by the...
Kind of, because it was in that post-war nuclear sort of... You know, where the line was really blurred between nuclear energy and nuclear armament development, and it was abandoned around about 64 when they started to think about test ban treaties and things like that. But if you're a total nerd, it's quite a good look up. So that was number 3 for me. Number 2 is the Odyssey, from a cartoon series in the 80s that some people remember called Ulysses 31, which was I remember it as a really good series that was developed by a French-Canadian animation house, I think, working with the Japanese, and they basically adapted the more well-known Greek myths and set them in the 31st century. So that ship was essentially looked like a giant eye that flew through space. I have got 3 bullet points which I'll read you. So my first one, which was to convince you all, was giant Sauron eye that flies around. Then crew asleep. So the main plot of this was that most of the crew were put to sleep by the gods. So the crew's asleep, so you can walk around in your pants, use the officers' amenities, all that sort of thing. They don't wake up for the whole journey. and it has a giant Alexa type entity in it called Shirka, I think her name is. She sounds like Alexa, just a little bit more sinister, a little bit deeper voice. So yeah,
Shirka.
Shirka,
Isn't Shirka your nickname at work?
Yes, it might be.
I'd also like to add, it's probably got the best intro of any kids cartoon.
It has. You should look it up.
I know of the intro, I know of the song, but I can't remember the actual show. I'm too young. What can I say?
It was such a weird show. It was all extrapolated from Greek myth, wasn't it? Basically, it was a retelling of the Odyssey with some weird little squeaky robots. For me, the strongest thing about Ulysses 2031, the greatest achievement it had was that the guys had guns which were also lightsabers.
Lightsabers, yeah.
Don't worry about which one you need. Have one thing that does both.
On the front. Yeah, amazing.
Absolutely brilliant. When I was X years childhood age, that was the tits, without a shadow of a doubt.
That's actually what they put on the marketing. It's the tits. Tom 5.
So it's well worth a look if you can get the DVD. But that wasn't my number one anyway. So the number one. So does anyone? Daisy, you probably know what the SSV Normandy.
I do. I've played I played all the Mass Effect games a lot.
So my first bullet point says looks like flying sex.
That's true. It does.
So
if sex could be released into space with ion engines, that's what it would look like.
It's a very sort of curved and spiky looking frigate for those of you who haven't seen it. When they designed the whole game, they wanted to give it a modern sci-fi aesthetic, but they drew from that like that 80s science fiction art that was really prevalent in the sort of early to mid 80s, where you get whole big art books produced, and I mean mostly because those guys were illustrating the covers of sci-fi novels and the front of computer games, to make people buy them when the actual graphics were awful. So it draws on a lot of that. So it looks really good, but I'm not going to get you to vote for it because of that. It's a stealth ship. So basically, the way this works is it stores all of its heat in these giant sort of heat sinks in the center of the ship. So although you could effectively spot it if you were looking out into space is big and you're not likely to spot spaceships. Most spaceships, most ships...
Space is big.
Space is big.
Radars, very big.
That's it, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
It's cold.
Really big.
It's very cold in space, someone once said. So it can store its heat, which makes it a stealth ship. And it also has the coolest sounding propulsion system of all time. So it has what's called the Tantalus drive, and this basically generates a mass concentration in front of the ship, and the ship falls into the space rather than being propelled by thrusters. So this, sort of adds to the stealth aspect of it. And one other thing, it actually has what is essentially looks like a giant big track in the cargo hold that doubles as a planetary exploration vehicle and also like a dropship called the Mako, which is like a big track with a giant cannon on the top. Okay. So I don't know what else you would want. The only other thing is, and Daisy might get this, if you're on that ship, you get to be friends or have a romance with Garrus Vakarian, who is the coolest Turian NPC in any video game. So
that's a bold statement, but yeah, that's true.
All right,
I like that. Good looking ship. Not as good looking as mine though.
Shape-wise, the SSV Normandy kind of reminds me of the race cars from Wipeout 2097.
Oh,
it has that elegant, angular, sort of modular feel to it, and looks like it goes really fast down brightly lit tunnels.
Right, I'm gonna go next, as I say, because my 3 ships that I've chosen are clear winners. Third place, the Enterprise A, or the refit Enterprise, whichever one you want to say. I think they're identical pretty much. It's just pretty. I know it's weird. It's not as sleek and elegant as some of the others, but it is just pretty. Second one is the Serenity from Firefly, because it's just an absolute beast. The winner, and I say this, I don't mean in my top, but the actual winner is the Rocinante from The Expanse.
Can I do my joke now? Is that with extra cheese and jalapeno?
Because it sounds like a pizza. Yeah. Look, if you keep saying that joke, we're not going to get sponsored by Ristorante Pizzas. Sorry.
I get it. Rocinante, Restaurante. Yeah, this is that joke that we had a conversation on a chat thread weeks ago that I didn't get then.
Yeah.
But eventually got, and I've just got now.
No,
This is great stuff, guys.
This is good. This is gold. I could literally look up all the specifications. I could tell you about its railguns and its PDCs, and how kick-ass it is, and all of the battles it's been in and won. The most important thing about it for me, it's kind of small enough to be crewed by 4 people. It obeys the laws of physics, and that's what I like about it. It's kind of a real spaceship. It's very pretty as well. And those are my arguments.
I've actually...
It's kind of an emotional argument rather than any kind of logical thing. I'm not going to hit you with facts and try and win an argument. I just feel it.
So I actually prepared 4 reasons why you're wrong about that ship. So I'm just going to
it's more than I prepared.
If I may. So the second one was actually... I've done the joke 3 times in this podcast already. Sounds like a pizza. So the first reason, so this was just something, I don't actually know whether this is true, but this is something I got off Reddit earlier. So someone
great start, Rich, great start. This may not be true or relevant, however.
So somebody started a thread which was called, I've only written down the last bit, but it's called something like, "I love the Expanse, but," and then I quote,
"No."
How do you pronounce this ship? The
Rocinante.
Rocinante.
Okay, so the Rocinante is the worst-looking ship ever made in the movie history.
What?
It looks like a suppository.
Their opinion is immediately gone.
So he says it looks like a suppository.
He can shove that up his ass, can't he?
So if you don't want to refute that, we'll just move on. I tried to look into the origins of the name, or the etymology, if you like.
Yes, well done.
I know this.
And apparently it's named after the horse in the novel, and I can't pronounce this either,
Don Quixote.
That's it.
Don Quixote.
And in that novel, when that was analysed, they tried to work out what the name actually meant, and it's not a direct word in Spanish, but what I can tell you is Rosin, which is Rosin, which is I guess the core of the word, means a workhorse or a low-quality horse, but can also mean an illiterate or rough man.
Oh, you Rosin, you.
And the last bullet point I've got is just simply says other reasons.
Okay, I'm confused at this point because that whole thing about it being a low workhorse thing to me makes it seem like a great name for a cool spaceship.
Yeah, even in the world of the Expanse, in that sci-fi world, it is really high-tech. And it's got a copy machine. Which I have to admit,
having not dipped into the Expanse for my sins, when I looked at it, I actually thought I'd probably back you if I wasn't backing myself.
I think the Rocinante is a really cool ship. I have tried to look, because I'm a nerd and like you, we love these things. I've looked for things like cool T-shirts with pictures of the Rocinante on before, and I found that there are discrepancies and differences in people's design of it that they've extrapolated from the book.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's an official kind of picture of it from the books and the design of it in the TV show. So, side question then to you, Jason, supplementary question, if you will. Which shape Rocinante are you going for? Are you going for the TV ship?
TV.
Right, fair enough.
Yeah, because I started reading the books after I started watching the TV show. So, for me, I always had that image in my mind of a Rocinante looking precisely like it does.
Regarding your choice of Enterprise A for your third place, was it? I also really like the Enterprise A. It's the Enterprise that I kind of grew up with, as in it's the first Enterprise from the movies.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, because the Enterprise D, the TNG, is the one I kind of grew up, the series I grew up watching. But I don't think it came over here to the UK until like the early 90s. And so I don't think I saw as much until after I'd seen loads of the original series movies. And there's also the emotional connection of just at the end of Star Trek 4, which is probably one of the films I've watched most when I was a kid because it's fun and light. Just that moment where they're expecting to get assigned any old cargo tanker or whatever, and then they go over the
Excelsior.
They're coming towards the Excelsior and then just flies over, and you see the A.
I always remember the bit from Star Trek 2, which was the 1701 going past as being like when you see the little the guy in the space waving at it as it leaves space dock in Wrath of Khan, and that is the kind of the archetypal Enterprise in my head. No blue glowing bits on the nacelles, anything like that, or any
Yeah.
It's just really kind of sleek and understated.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it.
So what we're saying is that everyone agrees with me and the Rocinante wins, yeah?
No. No.
Oh, okay.
Sure. No.
You want
No.
to fly around in a giant pizza, then fine. Carry on. Next. Who's going
I'll go next. Right, my top three.
Get on.
I'm going to give an honourable mention to the Death Star, and it is a spaceship. I don't care what anyone else says. It fits the
I'd like
definition
to
of everything.
go on air and say that I spent too long researching it and then discovered that you were right. So
Yeah, it is because it's got a hyperdrive.
It's got a
That's how it
hyperdrive.
gets between planets.
it's actually got
doesn't-
sublight engines as well. So
The annoying thing
Yeah, of
is when you
course.
look at the definition, the encyclopedic definition of spaceship, it just says "sea vehicle," and a vehicle is a medium through which something's expressed, i.e., the terror of the Empire, achieved or displayed, and it achieved the destruction and displayed the destruction of Alderaan. So I think the definition of vehicle was meant for the Death Star.
I think in all the argument, there's one thing we can agree that it's not. It's no moon.
This is true. But unfortunately, I had to exercise it from my top three. Third place is the USS Defiant, because it's fucking awesome. Gloriously overpowered and just damn right cool. Number two.
From DS9 or the one from the original series?
DS9.
Okay. Just checking.
Second place is the Millennium Falcon, because you have to. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And because I've been to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and I've actually gone on the bloody thing, and it's literal goosebumps when you see it. It's goosebumps when you do the ride. It's goosebumps when you push the hyperdrive accelerator. It's fucking incredible. But top number one for me is the Imperial TIE Fighter, or Twin Ion Engine Fighter, as it's called. It's never going to win any major space battles. It's cheap to make. It's quick to make. It doesn't have a hyperdrive. It doesn't have combat shielding. It doesn't have life support or landing gears. I think it's quite funny.
you
But that means
all the things I was about to try and use.
it doesn't have any of that shit. Pilots don't need any of that crap to fight. It just makes it really manoeuvrable.
Have you got
Normally-
nowhere to piss? Because I've got that as a bullet point.
No, because the pilots wear like massive, stupid, like vacuum-proof suits and stuff, so they can basically probably do all that kind of stuff in their suits.
Fair play.
Usually they go in a squadron of 12, but in the films they have to have them in squadrons of 3, otherwise it'd be unfair to the good guys. The reason I picked it is the noise it makes.
Yeah.
The noise it makes, and I will demonstrate that now if you can hear it.
That was Chewbacca having sex.
That sounded like a pack of
Glorious.
dogs being sick.
No, actually, they used the sound a car makes when it's traveling at speed on a wet road, and an elephant screaming, and they combine the two noises to make the sound of the audio, which I think is pretty cool.
I thought that was the sound of women and children, sand people being slaughtered by a Jedi.
It could all be. It could be as well. The reason I picked the TIE Fighter, and I think it's the best sound to a spaceship I think I've ever heard. I think it's incredible. Is that if you didn't have them, most of the Star Wars films would be really boring. You just get really boring ships traveling through space doing nothing.
Yeah.
And the whole reason is the TIE Fighters add a little bit of
Very
mystery and
iconic.
excitement.
Very iconic.
You say about ships just sort of travelling slowly through space doing nothing. Are you referring
Like
to
the
The Last
Rocinante.
Jedi?
Like the Rocket Narco.
Oh, we don't. I don't have the emotional spoons to go through this again. We can't talk about the Rian Johnson apocalypse of Star Wars.
That could have done with a few TIE fighters in it, to be honest. Couldn't it?
Wouldn't it have been an amazing idea if instead of just chasing each other really slowly, they'd sent out a few TIE fighters to. We can't do it, guys. I can't even go there. It's not even funny. I'm not having fun anymore.
Yeah, can I just say, you're unfairly influencing Tom's decision on my second, and that's not fair. So that's why I picked the TIE Fighter. It's awesome.
There's two things I really like about TIE Fighter. One is the noise. Obviously, you're right. It's the Stuka dive bomber. Mm-hmm. For those of you who know your World War II military aircraft history, it's the Stuka dive bomber of the Star Wars
Even though you
universe.
can't hear anything in space, so it's technically pointless.
Yeah.
But in Star Wars, everything goes pew pew.
Yeah, but it is an atmospheric craft as well, so you can hear it.
It is. It's a shit one, but it is, yeah. They proved that in Rebels, didn't they? But the other thing I really like about a TIE Fighter is it embodies the ethos of the Empire. It is a spaceship that makes perfect sense for that military organisation, an organisation that is huge and vastly powerful and doesn't give a shit about its pilots and has an almost inexhaustible supply of them. So it just churns out millions upon millions of this very basic, as Daisy said, no shields, no hyperdrives, doesn't even have an atmospheric cockpit. That's why they have to wear helmets. It's not actually pressurized.
The funny thing is, the cockpit does have
makes
crash
perfect
webbing
sense for
in
the
it.
Empire.
But the pilots are all elitist, really well trained, according to the stuff I've read.
Apparently.
And stormtroopers are never, ever, ever let anywhere near a TIE fighter. So him knowing how to use the guns is absolute horse from it.
Well,
but yeah, they're cool. But anyway, I digress, and it's your turn, Tom.
Cool. Okay, fabulous. All right, my top 3. So for my 3rd place, and this is kind of because I'm bashing through the Marvel films again at the moment, and I just rewatched both Guardians of the Galaxies. I'm going to give a 3rd place mention to the Ravager ship, which is Quinn's ship. And you see a few different models of it because all the Ravagers have them at the end of the first one. And I just think it's really cool. It looks cool. It's got that kind of hunched eagle shape, shoulders with kind of splayed wings. I like the way it flies. I like the way it maneuvers. It looks like it's kind of got weight, but it also looks quite nimble. And it's a slow burner of an iconic ship, I think. It's the one that we see Tony Stark stranded in with Nebula at the beginning of Avengers Endgame, for example. So a lot of cool stuff happens in those ships, in those films, and it looks good. So that gets a 3rd place mention for me. 2nd place in my list, I'm going to go for the Thunderbolt Star Fury from Babylon 5.
Nice.
Ooh.
So the traditional Star Fury it's really interesting how Babylon 5 kind of approaches its ship designs, particularly for the fighters. Because a bit like you were saying in regards to the Rocinante, Jason, in Babylon 5, ships tend to obey the laws of physics, particularly the fighters. The original Star Fury kind of looks a bit like a cross between a TIE fighter and an X-Wing. It's got the X shape, but with better reason, because it's got an engine at each corner, which makes sense when you're trying to maneuver it through 360 degrees and do cool things like spin it round as you're flying past something you're shooting at, so it can track and shoot, which they used to great effect in the show. But it has this kind of the rest of the ship is basically just a cockpit. Unlike a TIE fighter, it can eject, but it's basically just a cockpit with 4 engines on the corner and some guns. Makes perfect sense for a military ship. The Thunderbolt is kind of the more advanced version of this that they bring in later on, which is built to fly and work in an atmosphere, which is why it has an aerodynamic shape, and it has a longer, thinner cockpit. So it really does look a lot like an X-Wing, or sort of halfway between an X-Wing and an Apache helicopter almost. 1st place for me is going to the NCC 1701D, the Enterprise D, Picard's Enterprise from the Next Generation. And the reason I'm going for this ship is it's beautiful, it looks cool, it has such iconic memories for me personally from when I first watched.
You think it looks like a giant space toilet?
What?
I actually had to pause there because
beautiful. It looks awful. It should have been called the USS Army Shanks.
It's awesome. What's wrong with it? Okay, first of all, I don't want to know too much about what's going on in your mind when you think that's what a space toilet would look like, because that doesn't make any sense.
Sorry, I've just got a minor segue. Instantly, as soon as you went to space toilet, my head went to tiny teleporter in a toilet that teleports your poo out into space. That would be amazing. Continue.
That's probably what they have to do on the Enterprise D.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
I had to get that out.
They would call it a telepooper, obviously.
I think I don't have it anymore. I think it died somewhere in transport from one of the many houses I've lived in, but I had a copy of the Star Trek Next Generation technical readout manual. So I've spent many an hour whiling just looking through blueprints and design explanations of this ship and why it looked the way it did. And I disagree, Rich. I think it looks cool. I like that it shows that Starfleet, although by necessity later on in the sort of TNG universe with the Defiant and DS9 and those things, Starfleet had to militarize. And it made sense in the story, but the Enterprise D is a true Starfleet vessel. It's built for exploration. It's built for long-range missions. That's why it has families on board. That's why they've got a flipping ship's counselor. It's what a spaceship should be in science fiction, which is a home and a vehicle and a place that moves with the story. It's
a
more
home
than
where
just
people nearly die on it every 48 hours.
Like a Death Star.
Why not? No,
does the Death Star have a counsellor?
It's a star.
Had an ex-chancellor.
Is that a brilliant job or is that a shit job? come and tell me your problems this week. Okay, the solution will be we'll go and blow your planet up, and then all those personal problems of yours will go away.
Hang on. Don't spoil Daisy's segment.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Well, Daisy, please blow up the Enterprise D in your segment. That'd be amazing.
No.
Anyway, carry on. Sorry.
Bad man.
Anyway, the longer Star Trek goes on, the further it gets away from Roddenberry's Star Trek. Their exploration in humanitarian first, and for scientific research, and for all those excellent things that humanity should be doing out amongst the stars, and a kind of a military craft second. And the Enterprise D actually demonstrates all those elements in its makeup, and you see them throughout the series. The Saucer section separates and leaves a little battleship section, which was really cool the first time we saw it. Admit it, Rich, that was cool.
It was cool until there seemed to be a swan floating in space afterwards.
What a beautiful swan.
Can I briefly nerd out and interject here? Because, as you know, I've been watching through the original series episodes, and there was a mention in one of them about separating the saucer from the original Enterprise. I don't think it was ever mentioned again. It was mentioned
in the original series?
Yeah, in the original series. It was mentioned as being possible.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they could also apparently separate the nacelles. But I think it was probably just a throwaway line that no one ever thought of again until they were doing the Enterprise D, and someone went, hey, you know what's a cool idea? And it was a cool idea, because it's amazing.
What I did like is the battle bridge on the once the saucer has...
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
And do you know who worked the con on the battle bridge in Encounter at Farpoint? Miles O'Brien. Because he's versatile.
Just a handsome engineer, hey, Rich?
Not just a handsome engineer and family man. He can do absolutely anything. And you know what he can also do, Rich? He can get a girlfriend.
That's usually I watched a quick video about when they made the model of the Enterprise for the TV series. Apparently, because it was made entirely out of fiberglass and, as the Americans call it, aluminum, it took about 6 people to maneuver it when they were doing shots with it, and it cost about $75,000 to make it. And it had 14 high voltage neon lighting circuit boards in it, so whenever they tried to turn the nacelle lights on, it always shocked everyone. So I think that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, I thought. But yeah, $75,000 for that.
That is amazing. Some of the shots they got of the Enterprise D, as great as CGI is these days, it can be overkill. And I think that the thing we mentioned last time about the 250 identical looking Starfleet ships, the model shots that they used to get of the Enterprise D are stunning.
Apparently, the first Enterprise ship that is fully CGI, no models at all, is the ship from the series Enterprise.
Yes,
that's completely CGI. There's no model.
Yeah, that's right.
At all.
Sorry. No, I was about to go on a slight tangent, which is again mentioned in fact that obviously watching the original series, and it's a remastered one. So rather than the old model shots, they've got new CGI shots in there. But there's something just not quite right. It just looks too polished. Like you see the rest of it, and it's not polished. Like all the sets, the sets aren't that polished.
When they put all those extra scenes, bits in Star Wars, it's a bit like that.
Yeah. It's like the. Yeah.
And everyone was saying, "Oh, they shouldn't have put anything in it." It's like, no, you should have actually replaced everything, and it would have been fine. But they, so you've got like some amazing X-wing shots in the Star Wars Special Edition in the Death Star, and then it cuts to the surface of the Death Star, which is a load of egg boxes. This doesn't work. They should have left the original cut and then done a super cut with everything replaced.
I did a quiz on Zoom a few weeks ago. A week and a half ago with some friends, and a question came up.
Thanks for the invite, Tom. Cheers.
I said friends. So anyway, answer this question for me. How many different Enterprise ships appear in Star Trek? Okay, why don't we come back to this next episode? I don't care if you Google it. See what
the
you come up
answer is
with.
that difficult to find, presumably.
I think it's pretty tough. But how many different Enterprise ships appear in Sar Trek? Let's see if we can get an answer we agree on.
I'm so far up to 10.
Okay.
And I haven't thought beyond that.
I'm pretty sure there's more.
But I'm up to 10.
I'm going to go 57. Fuck it, why not?
Can I, just before we finish, I'll just mention the fact that I've been doing a bit of social medias on this very subject at Podguide Galaxy, Twitter and Instagram pages, and it's generated a bit of discussion. I put a poll it only got 10 votes, but joint first was the Enterprise D and the Rocinante.
Hey.
Was the question which ship looks like a giant space toilet?
Well, your original pick, the Odyssey, got no votes, Rich. There's a couple of people on there saying things like, the refit Enterprise was good. Rebel Alliance B-Wing.
Oh,
yeah, got a little mention.
Yeah,
that's a weird choice.
Yeah. I know, but I kind of like it. That was on the Twitter. On the Instagram, a lot of people mentioning the Millennium Falcon because it wasn't in our original pick. Scott James R.O. suggests the Battlestar would be cool.
Original, not the shit new one.
Yeah, but feels like he'd get lost. I think he might mean the new one. I don't know.
The Galactica.
No, the new one's
does he mean the
awful.
Galactica?
Yeah.
Just says
The old
Battlestar.
Galactica looks cool. The new one looks like horseshit.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a pick for Ulysses 31 on there. Serenity gets a bit of love. Enterprise D gets a bit of love as well. So it's kind of mixed. And then I think on the Facebook page, people mostly went with Rocinante.
No, they didn't.
Yeah,
Sure,
I mean, I haven't got it up. I haven't got it up. I'm making it up because I haven't got it up on the page.
Fake news. Yeah. Terrible journalism.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, that's what people think. So who's won? I would, if no one's going to back my vote of the Rocinante, I'm going to lump my coins in with Tom and the Enterprise D.
Of course you are.
Personally, because it is gorgeous and it's not a toilet.
Can I just say, none of my ships or Finnish ships have been captured or bested by the Ferengi.
Right. Okay, so 2 votes to Tom's Enterprise D. What's yours, Rich, again?
No one's going to vote for mine.
I can't even remember what it is.
The Normandy.
Yeah,
I'm sticking with my TIE fighter.
So I'm going to throw in with Daisy then to cause controversy.
Oh, just to get 2 votes each.
Yeah. Okay,
fine.
Right, we'll settle this another time.
TIE fighter versus Enterprise D. Who wins? Enterprise does. Job done.
Yeah. We'll put it into a vote on the social media. See what people think.
No, not who would win in a fight, because that's a stupid conversation.
Yeah. No, who would win in a fight? We've agreed. Done. Let's move on. Who would win in a fight? That was the deal.
Okay.
Ben, can we spiral and crash into your ship, in which case we'd win, because that's what TIE fighters are really good.
No, because you're not an A-Wing.
Right, next up, my turn. It's Daisy's Death Star Wheel of Fun /Death.
Death Star Wheel of Fun.
Death Star Wheel of Fun with Daisy.
Death Star Wheel of Fun.
Pew pew.
/Death.
Another target, a military target, to name the system.
That's pretty good.
Okay,
that's pretty good.
The premise, and I'm not going to go down the route of various armchair Twitter arseholes who made the person who acted for Jar Jar Binks' life a fucking misery and made him give up acting. This is purely aimed at the character, not the actor/actress. So the premise is Jar Jar Binks is an arse, but they're worse. And we're going to put these people that are worse on an asteroid and shoot them with Death Star main gun. So first up, have you guys seen Alien Resurrection?
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I actually have not.
Okay, Alien Resurrection.
Really?
The main alien in Alien Resurrection is awful. The premise and why aliens are so scarily horrible is because that the Queen can lay millions and millions of eggs and you get millions and millions of drones and they just overwhelm everyone. They changed that in Alien Resurrection to have where the Queen alien births this fucking stupid thing like a woman would birth a child, so she can only have one at a time, and then the alien kills its queen mum, which is just ridiculous. It looks awful. It sounds like Dino from the Flintstones has just trodden on a piece of Lego. It always sounds surprised, and it looks awful, and it deserves to be shot. So
it's hard to describe how sad and unscary and unpleasantly shit it looks. It looks like somebody crossed a like a shit model of an alien with a Milky Bar and just melted them together and then gave it a vagina.
Nothing wrong with having one of them, but yes, it's awful.
Nothing wrong with having one of those in the context of a human being. But this thing, it's just awful.
It looks like if you could throw away all of your hopes and dreams for a xenomorph and then put legs on a piece of shit, that's what it would look like.
It's the fact that they stuck a crap human sort of skull face right on the front of an alien head.
Cool. Anyway, so number 2, and I think you'll all agree with me here, every single person that may or may not listen to this podcast will agree with me. Every character from the Twilight franchise.
Yeah.
Especially Little Miss Can't Act and Super Vampire Pedo, who are the 2 main characters. That's right. Next choice. I'm going to ask, I know the name of the character, but I'm going to see if any of you guys know it. Buck Rogers in the 25th century. His little robot assistant.
Bitty, 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 bitty.
Twinkie.
Twicky.
Twinkie, yeah.
Sorry, Twinkie.
Bitty, bitty, bitty.
No, not Twinkie. Twicky, yeah. Bitty, bitty, bitty.
What about the Twinkie?
Fucking annoyed the hell out of me. Stupid noises. And I went onto a website. The website's called giantfreakingrobot.com.
Yeah.
And some of the debates over there are quite funny, and they have ideal ways of killing off some of the people they don't like. And for Twicky, it was kick him down a flight of stairs and laugh as he cries in his stupid robot language. Buck Rogers in the 25th century is a bit of a cult classic, and it's very...
Didn't they used to wear like a weird sort of medallion that had a computer in it? Am I thinking of the right?
I think so, yeah, and you could take it out.
Well, he had another, a round robot that he wore on his neck. I can't remember what it was called.
It looked like an alarm clock.
Oh.
Yeah.
It
was.
That was considerably smarter.
But yeah, anyway, Twicky is on.
It was like a 90s rapper.
It's called Fiddy Bite.
Inexplicably, he was a robot that had a 70s hairstyle. That's like this kind of weird shell dome.
Next one is, have any of you guys seen Valerian in the City of the Thousand Planets?
No, it looks terrible.
Yes, I have.
Right, visually, I think it's a really, really good film.
Yeah, it's really striking.
It's really, really well done. But the main character, whose name is in the title, is Commander Valerian, is a fucking arsehole of a human being. So badly acted. The dialogue is awful, and he just looks like a prepubescent little stroppy teenager trying to be a commander in a army, and he's just he spoils the film for me.
I have to admit, I don't know what the source material for that is. I assume it's a book, but I presume he was completely miscast, or is he?
I think he might. But again, I don't want to make this about the actor, but I think he may have been miscast. But I don't think the dialogue options for him, and I think the film's pretty good. It's just he detracts from it so much. Next one, Prometheus, as a particular character.
we know.
I know where this is going.
Meredith Vickers, a.k.a. I can only run in one fucking direction when in mortal peril. When a giant circular spaceship is rolling towards you and all you have to do to survive is run to the left or right, and she runs straight ahead.
Yeah.
I would say she deserves to be shot, but it was probably harsher dying by being squashed by a rolling spaceship.
What about that the geologist who acts like Hudson for no good reason?
Oh yeah.
Suddenly freaks out and goes mental.
Yeah, gets scared by being in the caves, but then isn't scared by a giant fucking alien one-eyed snake. So, but yeah, no, he's not on my list because her crimes are worse for not being able to run left or right.
That's fair.
Dr. Pulaski from the Next Gen Oration.
Jesus, she is the most sour character that they have ever come up with. I think
you could have said the word bint. That would have been fine.
Did she come in at the beginning of the season, or was it
at the beginning of series 2? Yeah, I think the idea was.
I've got an admission to make. Is that way back when I was a wee bear.
She did play another Doctor in the original series.
Character. I thought she was a particularly poor lookalike replacement for about half a season because I didn't see the opening and I didn't see her introduced, and I really didn't understand what was going on. I thought they just replaced her. They said, "Well, let's just get another woman," and it doesn't have to look like her. I honestly thought
doesn't even have to have red hair or anything.
Yeah, apparently the actress did actually play another Starfleet Doctor in the original series.
Yeah, that's right.
Really?
But yes, she probably fucked that role up as well. So
the thing is, she deliberately pronounces Data's name wrong, and then when he corrects her, she says, "Well, what's the difference?" Data zings back and says, "Well, one is my name, the other isn't, bitch." I may have added the bitch on the end, but he may as well have said it.
No. That's definitely in the script. I remember it well.
Yeah. But, like, I think they were trying to make her like McCoy and trying to get that McCoy Spock sort of dynamic going.
Oh yeah,
But McCoy was never.
McCoy
McCoy was just sort of grumpy and cynical. He was never just an asshole.
Yeah.
For no reason. Whereas Pulaski was.
Speaking of assholes, back to my list.
Go on.
Okay, I'm going to Return of the Jedi for this one. Salacious Crumb. For those who don't know, he's the little in the sail barge scene where you've got the little creepy alien hiding around Jabba the Hutt's belly button. That little fucker.
Yeah.
Him.
He's the one who has 3PO's eye out.
Yes, he's the one that takes
my eye.
I know this is supposed to happen at the end, but A, I don't think you can rid the Star Wars universe of Salacious Crumb. And B,
and I will.
If ever there was a mismatch of victim versus weaponry,
no.
Sort of Salacious clinging to the face of an asteroid.
No,
I mean, that's animal cruelty. That's all.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And as well, there's a scene in The Mandalorian where one of his species is seen being cooked and eaten.
Yes, there is.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Apparently, his character, Salacious Crumb, had a contract with Jabba the Hutt. If he didn't make Jabba the Hutt laugh once a day, Jabba the Hutt would kill him. Right, next.
That was in my wedding vows.
What, you had to inhabit Jabba the Hutt's belly button?
Yes. Yeah.
Iron Man 3 is the next stop for the Mandarin.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Trevor Slattery?
No, not the actor, the character, because it was done so
Tony
badly.
Slattery was in The Mandalorian.
Trevor Slattery was...
Tony Slattery was in The Mandalorian.
You heard it here first.
Oh, yeah. It was that improv scene, wasn't it? When all the robots were trying to escape.
Yeah. Colin Mockery and Ryan Stiles were in the background somewhere.
Yeah. The Mandarin, how badly they did that character.
No, but Trevor Slattery is the name of the actual character you're talking
that was
about,
his.
right?
That
I'm
was
still
the name
I'm
of
still shooting the
character.
character with a Death Star.
Yeah.
Because it was so badly done. Suicide Squad Joker.
Yeah.
Not the actor, the character.
Not the actor, but can the actor
I think
go with
did you
him?
put Jay Leno in the Death Star path?
Jay Leno.
No,
Jay Leno. Jay
Whatever
Leno.
his name is.
Can you imagine Jay Leno is the
American talk show
Joker?
host.
Oh, who am I thinking of?
My God.
Jared Leto.
That's
Jared
it.
Leto. Jay Leno. Paul
Well, actually,
Jay
can we
Leno
consider-
Joker could be quite
Consider
interesting.
Jay Leno as well.
I want
No.
to see Jay Leno as the Joker now.
Jay Leno as the Joker could be quite funny. Everyone from the TV series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, no.
Yes.
No. Why?
Yes, I've said it because I said it.
Is that the rule? Because I said so.
Well, no, this is my list.
Yeah.
We can agree or disagree
Yes,
at the end of it. The next one, I'm backed up with Twitter. Agreed this as well. The
Okay.
least popular Avenger, Black Widow. Again, not the actress, the character.
Don't know about least popular, but
She is the least popular. according
Is she?
to all like negative searches, comments, and everything. She's got the highest by quite a way.
what, even more than Hawkeye?
Yes.
Wow. That's just straight up misogyny.
Even
I'm
more
hoping-
than Jay Leno.
No, Jay Leno's got off of this list. He's nowhere near an asteroid. He's fine. The next one, I know Finney will agree with me, and Tom will as well. Tom will as well because of the CGI animatronic, sort of like 2014 RoboCop.
Yeah.
Next up, the character from the X-Men films of Rogue.
From the films.
From the films, not the
Okay.
animated TV series, which is amazing.
Yeah. Because Rogue, they were very different characters, really.
Probably the biggest waste of a character ever in TV history, I would say.
That's a bold claim. Very bold claim.
Rogue is one of if not the best X-Man. Awesome character.
Yeah.
And then they don't even display any of her powers other than the I can sap a little bit of your energy when I touch you power, and then she just gets rid of all of her powers.
And the rest of her powers throughout the rest of the series are being in love with a boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got one from Star Trek Picard.
Ooh.
And it's not the one you think it might be. It's not Little Miss JL. She's not on the list. It's Narissa, purely for killing Hugh. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, you bitch.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
The penultimate one on my list is from The Hobbit, Azog the Defiler, a bigger lump of CGI shit you will not see on a film screen.
Yes.
Completely rubbish character. My last one, and I've got another quote from Giant Freaking Robot for this one. Carl Grimes from The Walking Dead.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, if you could get a worse teenager to have as a son, I think.
Oh, that's the kid, right?
Yeah, that's the kid.
Yeah.
How they wanted to get rid of him on giantfreakingrobot.com is just as his character is about to have sex for the first time, he gets thrown into a giant dumpster where he's forgotten about and starves to death.
Gosh.
Yeah, and that's my list.
Good. Okay, so should we go through and vote?
Yep.
So
So the alien from Alien Resurrection.
Yep.
Fire.
Yes.
Yep. Sweet.
Fire.
Everyone in the Twilight films.
Fire.
Yep.
Yep. Good. Carl Grimes from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
3-1. Twicky from Buck Rogers.
I liked Twicky.
You know what? I think
When I was a kid, I liked it.
I think you got to save him.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have to do anything.
No,
if you want to mount as all right, I won't shoot Twicky. Could I land the Death Star on him? Valerian from the film.
Yeah, blast him.
Something.
Yeah, go for it. I've never seen it. It sounds shit.
It's forgettably rubbish character.
Meredith Vickers from the Prometheus film, Little Miss Can't Run Sideways.
Yeah. Daisy, if you could you instruct the technicians for that one to fire it up like a giant "You're going to die, Mr. Bond" laser, and then she could run away from it around the asteroid, but it's
Yeah.
until it eventually overtakes it.
Dr. Pulaski.
Fire!
Yeah. She was rubbish. Yeah, nothing about her character.
Salacious Crumb from Return of the Jedi.
No.
I'm gonna go with no as well.
No.
So I'm going with no because we don't need to blow him up with a Death Star. He's just going to get cooked and eaten.
Yeah, go on, save him.
The Mandarin, and I always nearly say the Mandolin. The Mandarin from Iron Man 3.
Yeah, that film. Because the Iron Man 3, as every right-thinking person knows who understands what a story is dreadful, and the twist involving that character is shit.
Suicide Squad Joker.
Yep.
Yeah.
Down with Jay Leno and all that.
Jay Leno.
Say no to Jay Leno as Joker. Black Widow.
No.
Black Widow. No. Down with the haters.
She's cool.
She's great.
All of the characters from the TV series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No.
Awful TV series.
No, I like it.
Okay, might be a subject for a wider discussion. I like it. I don't know. I mean, how much of it have you watched?
I've watched all of Series 1.
Okay.
And I just couldn't make it. I didn't want to start Series 2 because Series 1 was so bad.
It gets better.
Okay, it gets much better. I mean, it's a Joss Whedon show. You know, those characters grow and all kinds of crazy shit happens. It follows along chronologically. It goes side by side with what happens in the Avengers films and the Captain America films. So there's all sorts of cool stuff in that show.
Save them!
Save him.
I can't kill them. Sorry, Daisy.
RoboCop, the remake.
Yeah. Pew pew.
Yeah.
Gone.
Rogue from the X-Men.
Yeah, reluctantly, I'm going to have to say yes, because Rogue in the comics and the TV show was amazing.
Awesome.
It's so cool
brilliant.
and so much fun. And she's neither cool nor fun. Yeah.
She's there. She exists to have a boyfriend and further the plot rather than actually be a character.
The next one is already a foregone conclusion. Azog the Defiler.
Yeah. Oh, God.
CGI crap.
Narissa from Star Trek Picard.
Oh, yeah.
The crime of killing Hugh.
What I would like to happen is for 7 of 9 to roundhouse kick her into the Death Star Superlaser beam.
Yeah.
Do you know, I wasn't going to agree to that, but if that's the stipulation, fine. Yeah.
Your lust for death has been inflated, so it's good.
It has.
Good. Okay. It only remains for us to say goodbye. Goodbye from me. Goodbye from Jason. Goodbye from Rich. Goodbye from Daisy. And remember, boys, you have to answer the question: how many different Enterprise ships appear in Star Trek in totality?
Oh.
Okay.
Are we doing that now?
Hope we all have different answers. No, next time. Next time, Gadgets. Next time.
Okay. Well, I'm going to just Google the answer then.
Why don't we try doing it without Googling it? That'll be more fun.
Fun, but I might be wrong. I know. I'm going to work it out without Google.
I don't care. Google it, whatever. I expect we'll probably still come up with different answers.
All right, cool.